Exactly. We got to use about 287. In there. Very good. Good. So I can tell.
You got it.
How are we doing? Okay, Goldie, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. Everybody stand up. Right hand over the heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you taping?
Yeah, the video is on already. This will be the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting dated October 16th, 2012. Commissioner Sach.
Here.
Commissioner Salanitro will be absent. Yes, that's authorized. Commissioner Feinstein.
Here.
Commissioner Pilla did indicate he was coming. Commissioner French.
Yes.
And Supervisor Carvin.
Yes. So can I get a motion to bring the meeting to order? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Terrific. Any comments on the... Well, first of all, thanks everybody for coming tonight. We're now heading in from the fall to the winter session, so different time of the year for the park. Any comments on the minutes from the meeting of September 18th? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of September 18th?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
How many votes do you need? Because I wasn't there, I can't vote.
Oh, wow. Well, I think we can do it with three. It's the majority of the people that are present. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I'll pass. So.
Okay. So you're...
So we'll have to
abstaining?
get these approved next... get them approved
We can
next month.
skip. Okay, hold them
Or if
over.
Mayor Pilla gets here, we can do it.
All right.
Terrific. Okay. Comments from the public. Please, Goldie.
I can't say very much except one thing. Oakland Beach is incredible. Each time I've been there and I look and I see the moon coming up and sometimes the rainbow arc and everything, I wish I had a camera to take pictures. It is incredible. But it is also kept very wonderful and very neat. And thank God I didn't see too many dogs there. But I did see a couple, but I don't want. But I want to tell you one thing. I love going to the concerts, and I love trying to help out. Sometimes he's wonderful, but he has a lot of things to give out, and he needs help, and I try to help. But I love the concerts. I love music. And we need more concerts, please, at Oakland Beach. Try to get as many as you can in there. And people will come. They just pour in. There's so many people coming in. It's incredible. Sometimes they bring suppers, and they're sitting at the tables and eating their suppers. But a lot of people come. They love the concerts. So please, I ask you, think about it and see. If we have just a few concerts, it's not enough. We need more concerts. Please, thank you so much.
Thank you, Goldie. Mayor French?
So I assume you're pointing to Mr. Lawyer when you say he's great?
Yes.
Okay. So Bill, what is the prohibiting us from doing more concerts, more activities like that?
Bill, come up to the microphone, please. I think it's cost.
Time.
I certainly agree that, and I've been responsible for organizing concerts since 2009. The big factor besides finances, it costs us roughly $800 per group to play, and you could get some that might play for less, others that would demand more. So we're trying to sort of have a happy medium there. This is money that comes out of the revenue from the park.
Right.
It's the Friends had formerly been supporting it to a certain extent, but then they decided they'd be better putting their money into park improvements such as plantings and the pond and things like that. So obviously the commission has to decide, how much they want to spend. So you're talking about 800 times 7. You've got a fair amount of money there that it's going to cost. The other factor...
We're up to 7 concerts now?
Yes.
Oh, because we started at, 4 or 5, right? 3.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
So we have, it's not,
We've been listening to you.
we've just,
Any chance of getting a high school concert? Any high
Yeah,
school bands to come
great.
in?
Yeah.
Right.
this is where I would need more help, because it's not, you might think, oh, you just somehow say to somebody, let's get concerts. Obviously, we have a certain quality level that we want to have. You know, people come there, they want to, eat, enjoy the music, and they want to dance. So we're limiting ourselves to bands that are on the popular side, that play danceable music you can sing along to. We've avoided playing far out jazz that might be somewhat painful to listen to by many people. And we've experimented with various groups of different levels of professionalism, some of whom you book them and then they're late, or their sound system isn't working right. So you're really trying to make sure you have a level of quality to make it worthwhile doing it. And then the other big factor, and it's kind of ironic because for many years I was the director of the Greenberg Nature Center, where almost all our events were outdoor events, so I always had to worry about the weather. This is clearly a weather-dependent thing. If it's bad weather, people aren't going to show up. Even though we say we're having the concerts rain or shine, if there's a thunderstorm at 5:30 in the afternoon, people aren't going to show up. So you need to have a certain number of rain dates. And also, from the point of view of the summer, we start the first one the last Tuesday in June. And then we go through the middle of the summer. And I've always set aside 2 dates for rain dates. So last year we were extremely lucky, and it didn't rain. I think that was Goldie's doing. She had some special power that kept the rain away. But, on the other hand, the year before, we had a couple that were postponed, and then you're having concerts in the latter part of August when there aren't that many people around. And so, I'm not saying we can't tweak it, or one thing I was thinking of is getting some groups that would come in like an opening act or something like that, where maybe they would do it for free just to get some exposure. So you'd have that, and then you'd have the real concert later on. And that's where I could use some help, just recruiting people. That's because you really need to listen to these bands, and sometimes they have websites, but you can't always go by what's necessarily on a website. So that's pretty much where it is. As it is, when you're trying to book 7 different groups and you're doing it on Tuesday nights, there's a lot of juggling around, where one group can do it this time, but they can't do it that time. So, any time you would add more concerts, it would add more time on my part or somebody else's part. But I'd be happy to get volunteers who would be willing to sort of scout out some of the bands that maybe not quite ready for prime time, but would be willing to come in as an opening act or something like that. And it wouldn't matter so much if it rained then.
Mayor Feinstein?
A question, Bill. What time are the concerts over? They're always on Tuesday nights,
Yeah.
which is the night that I have board meetings on Tuesdays, so I'm never in
They go till 9 o'clock. But
Okay, because
usually
also-
they end around 9:30 because
Okay,
there's...
only because you also have to be very sensitive of the fact that there's noise and
Neighbors.
that there are neighbors in the area. So in having the concerts, you also have to balance the fact that it's wonderful entertainment and a park is an open area, but you always want to be sensitive
Yes.
to the neighbors as well.
Yes, that's a good point. And if we do have it like a 10 o'clock
it is that balance,
for the parties in the
Right.
pavilions. They're supposed to be finished by 10, and every now and then you have to talk to the guys. Kerry knows more about this probably because he handles the rentals of the pavilions. But sometimes you get the DJ or the band, and they crank up the volume, and everybody's having a wonderful time.
I was just going to say, I'd rather have you put together a full calendar, and we can always pare it back and talk about these other issues. But let's start with an approach. Let's continue to grow the program, get more entertainment in the park, bring residents to the park. When I walk around Rye, people totally know about these concerts. They're engaged. They want to go. Why does it just have to be Tuesday night? Can't it be Thursday night as well? I mean, okay. Anyway, the staff should put together, a nice schedule of events for the summer, and then we can always pare it back.
What's the problem with Thursday nights, Fred? Is just...
Well, Monday nights is volleyball, and whenever we book
Bless you,
the
Terry.
pavilion, we can't book the other pavilion
Right.
for rental.
Right.
Because what's Thursday night?
Seaside Johnny, always
Yeah.
taking
Well,
Nothing
well-
going on Thursday nights.
Well, I think since October we have a fair amount of time to, and I think what you're hearing from the commission is we'd like to follow up on Goldie's suggestion. I'd like to see more cultural music activities in the park as well. I think that, I'd love to have maybe you could do, Tuesday night and Friday night amateur night or high school night, local talent night. Let's promote local bands.
I think Thursdays is probably the best day.
Or Thursday night, whether it's Thursday night. But if you guys, Bill, if you could, as I like Mayor French's suggestion, propose a full-on calendar.
Just so you know, it would conceivably cost more money.
I understand. Well, I'm looking at, you're talking about $800 a pop. We're at $7 now, so you're going to go from $5,600 to $8,000. And so we'll have, so we understand that. And then I'd love to get maybe Thursday amateur night where we promote local talent and and I think the other thing, I remember, I performed my first wedding this summer at a play, or somebody re-upped.
We can
and so...
you still married, Joe?
Are you, Councilman Sach, are you suggesting? But the Shakespeare in the Park was... so I think if we think about being creative, and there's lots of different arts groups.
Tango nights, don't forget that.
Tango nights.
That's on Thursday.
They're on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not that's really along the water, and it's like 15
I just
people.
want to add to that.
Yes, please.
We've been exploring options. One of them, we had a member of WFAS approach us about the possibility of finding sponsors for our concerts, and that they would have their radio station there that night. Now, it was a little late when they started, but it's possibly feasible. So that's something we're looking into to increase the nights. But you had a couple of good ideas, and we need to follow up. Bill does a great job.
Well, I'd like to take credit, but I'm going to give Goldie all the credit.
One woman moved the whole board.
There you go. Wonderful. Thank you for your comments.
One other thing is that I've been trying to coordinate our scheduling with the Portchester and I guess the Rye Brook. They have a series of concerts, some down by the marina, some over at the park. And now I just happened to be talking to the woman who's the director of the Rye Arts Council. They're starting an initiative in Portchester to identify Hispanic musicians who've come to the United States and maybe are not performing professionally anymore because they've had to take other jobs. But I would love to see Ryetown Park bring more of the Hispanic community into the park. Last 2 years I've had one Latin band that I actually got through the Portchester Arts Council, Carlos Jimenez, and his band is a mambo type music. And we would love to have more synergy with Portchester and Rye Brook to find out who's got which bands and to introduce a little bit more variety to the music, because most of what we play is heavily on the oldies, which is there's nothing wrong with that.
We should be doing more at Crawford Park as well. And so why don't we? That's a wonderful suggestion.
That's one of the things I can do over the winter.
Great.
Is with my limited hours,
you come up with
I can work on some of that stuff.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. Thank you for the suggestion. Thanks for. Great. Any other comments from the public?
I would just like to recognize Rye City Manager Scott Pickup in the audience tonight.
Scott, thanks so much for coming. Did you want to take? Were you going to?
No, I think just
keep an eye on Bishop.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the mayor.
I think at the last meeting, Bishop, you had raised some issues with regard to, now that the season is ending, how the park is going to be managed during the off-season. And so I actually had suggested to Mr. Pickup that he be here tonight, and I think I had actually sent an email around to the commission that he was going to be here. So if there's anything to hammer out or work through with regard to that, Bishop, that you have, maybe now's the time to do it. Since
maybe we should. Maybe if we're happy, maybe we could just have a brief conversation. I think Mayor French, you couldn't make the last meeting, I think, and maybe we should just talk a little bit about that transition. And obviously, Mr. Pickup, if you have any comments, but I think. There was a couple of things. One was effectively we'll have no park personnel from the Ryetown Park Commission come November 1st, correct?
That's correct.
So and what we did last year, Mayor French and Councilman Sach, was effectively to devolve responsibility for the operation of the park to the Rye City, where closing and opening the gate. and we sort of left it to you. Well, we took a less forward-looking, maybe, the view in terms of how you want. Did you want to have, dogs on the beach? That was something we did 2 or 3 years ago. We think we had a little bit of conversation about that last time. I don't know if you have a view on how you want to run the park in the wintertime.
When you say the gate, the parking lot will stay open.
Well, yeah, let me maybe give you the scenario that we envisioned, and we can go from there. Once our staff is gone, all right, all of the facilities are shut down. There are no bathroom facilities. There's nothing really open. There are no more security guards that are patrolling, etc. We really don't want to have to send somebody down there just to open the gate, etc.
Which gate?
So I'm talking about the front parking gate, the one at the booth. Now, what we have done is we have closed off and locked the 2 inside gates to prevent people from driving into the interior of the park. So the outside gates are left open, and then you have the beach gates. Now, what we've done is we've essentially left the middle gate open. That's the one by Seaside Johnny's. All right, there is another gate that's down by the first aid station that could also be left open. It's a how can I call it? A shallower slope. It's the gate that we use to drive the vehicles in. But either gate can be left open. At that particular point, our staff has moved all the garbage cans right to the gate so that once a week or maybe even twice a week, we will come down, we will empty the trash, we'll patrol the park, we'll pick up any branches, things of that nature, but they're not there more than an hour or two, if you will. And then, obviously, we have a contractor that does the snow plowing. So we're not patrolling the park. We're not providing any services other than trash pickup and emergency services if there is a storm. Beyond that, you can control the gates how you wish, whether you want to close them in the evening. I only want to caution everybody that we have had last year some acts of vandalism that have occurred, and that's something that starts to become very difficult to manage.
Do you want to respond, Scott?
I think the only point of clarification, Bishop, that we wanted to try to get some understanding of is the boot camp by the beach. I think the woman who runs that program,
yes,
apparently she runs that all year round, unless there's snow or ice on the ground. I think women are out there, or somebody's out there on the beach in the morning.
Right.
So
we've given her. Right, we have given her a key, and she basically opens and closes the beach gate when she's running her program, if she's running it on the beach.
Okay.
I don't think we want to lock the beach. I think the dogs on the beach last winter worked just fine.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, I thought we decided to the contrary.
No, last winter we had the dogs on the beach.
But the problem is then come April 1st, do you know how hard it is for us not to let these people still want to go on the beach, and they can't? And that causes us a problem. Because now we feel, they say, who are you? We're allowed to do this.
So, Mayor, you're saying we allowed people on the beach, but we had no dogs on the beach. Playland allowed the dogs on the beach. Okay, gotcha. All right. Point of clarification.
Yeah.
But we had the gates open for people. Right. Okay.
So if I understand it correctly, the parking lot gates are locked every night and unlocked every morning, and the beach gates are locked every night and unlocked every morning? No?
No.
No, they're open.
No, they're left open. The parking gates outside are left open.
Okay.
Unless you choose to lock them.
Okay, so the parking gates are left open 24 hours a day.
Right.
But it's the beach gates that are locked in the
Beach
evening and
gates
unlocked in the
are
morning.
the gates that probably should be managed, in my opinion, but I'm not sure if you guys want to manage them.
How did it work last winter, Scott?
Basically, again, I think except for the boot camp programming, we really didn't manage the gates more than what she did. So she periodically locked and unlocked, and that was basically it.
So from the City of Rye's perspective, we're happy to leave them unlocked 24 hours a day?
They stay locked.
Oh, stay locked.
She would unlock them, do her programs, and come back and lock them back up.
Okay, I thought that, my understanding was that the beach gates were unlocked last winter.
Correct.
I
heard the residents tell me that they would walk on the beach. They wanted access, and they loved it.
So she opens and goes back.
Maybe she left them back open then, but we, again, we didn't unlock or lock them. She basically, ran her program, and as far as I knew, she locked it back up, Joe.
Okay, so this is actually good that we're all here talking about this, right?
Yeah.
So what is the game plan then going forward for this winter? I guess, Bishop, you're saying from the town of Rye's perspective, you're not going to manage the gates at all.
Well,
we're leaving it up to the city. So
we
really
don't have any staff there to manage it.
Well, neither do we, but you're saying
my
you're
staff
not going to do it.
is 20 minutes away in terms of being able to open and close gates or what have you. So
Well, I guess
it starts to become a cost factor.
Bishop. I think there's two questions. One is, what do we want to have happen? I think we have sufficient staff to open and close the gates. If that were the commission decision, the question is really what does the commission want to do? And again, given the fact that I guess there's no Rye-Town Park personnel that wanted to give the Rye City officials more weight in this decision. In terms of opening and closing, we can figure out who opens and closes it. But I think the question really is one, what do we want to do as a board, and two, I was fully prepared to give the Rye City officials a bit more, weight in the decision just because you guys are policing it. There's no Rye-Town Park personnel any longer.
I think there was a discussion last year, and I could be wrong. I don't know whether we had it as a commission or whether we just had it offline or amongst members of the community, but I think that there was a discussion last year that it was a positive thing to leave the beach open during the winter for people to walk around on it, and I guess it was just by happenstance that actually took place, because I did hear that people were happy with that. So from my personal point of view, and obviously everyone will weigh in, I think it's probably a positive thing to continue that or do it officially for the first time this winter where people can get on the beach, at least during the daytime hours.
And now,
Stop the dogs.
well, hold on. So I think I concur with Mr. Sach that I would like to see the beach open as well. It's a facility, and why not? So did any Mayor French, Mayor Feinstein?
That's the feedback that I got overwhelmingly last year was open beach for residents to walk during the wintertime.
Right.
And the fact that the county opened the beach for dogs, we didn't have to have dogs on our beach because the county is allowing dogs on Playland Beach.
Right. So I want to make two separate decisions. First of all, we're going to keep the beach open for residents. Mayor Feinstein, you happy with that?
In practical terms, in theory, yes. In practice, you're going to get dogs on the beach.
Well, okay, then...
if it's not, you should just be aware of what...
I want to separate the decisions, if you don't mind.
Well, you can't separate the two. I think they're intertwined in a way, and the ramifications of that. Yes, if people would abide by what our rules are, I'd say absolutely.
Okay.
We have a wonderful resource, and it should be available to the residents.
Okay, but then so I think we're uniformly agreement. There's unanimity on whether or not
in theory
residents on the beach. Then the question: are the residents law-abiding or not? And what is the? Obviously, I think what you're suggesting, Mayor Feinstein. I think our practice last year was certainly not to allow dogs on Rye-Town Beach, since the county beach allows dogs right next door. So certainly we can make it a policy. Now again, then you have the issue of enforcement.
Right. It's just frustrating. I mean, the realization is the policy is the policy. It's been the policy. It will continue to be the policy until changed by this board. But I just hope that those people who are availing themselves of the beach understand what the rules are.
Right. So the rules would be no dogs.
And I'm not optimistic.
I understand, but the rules would be no. Are we agreed that there would be no dogs on the beach on the right-hand side, Mayor French?
There should be a sign also, right, Bishop, that says no dogs?
I'm pretty sure we have signs.
I think there's.
There are signs, no dogs allowed.
Okay, so pardon me.
I have like 2 or 3 signs. I could put one big sign by the middle gate if you like, and one sign by the parking booth, so people are aware when they're driving in. No dogs allowed on the beach. And then one sign right by the middle gate, so that way people know what's going on.
I personally would be in favor of dogs on the beach, but I don't want to have that fight right now, and I understand the majority of the commission does not want dogs on the beach, so I think that's part of a wider discussion that we've been having and need to continue to have, and ultimately need to figure out what the answer is. I don't think we're going to get that answer right now. So that's my personal preference, but if the consensus is not to do it, then that's what the consensus is.
All right. Well, thank you, Councilman Sach. Mayor Pilla, thank you so much. Just to bring you up to speed, so we're talking about transitioning to the winter rules of operation in the park. And thanks, nice to see you. And so there's a consensus on the board to keep the park open, Town Park, the beach portion of the park, the open during the winter. And there's also a majority of the board that's prepared wants to keep the regulation that no dogs allowed on our beach in the wintertime, particularly in view of the fact that the county allows dogs right next door. Councilman Sach has very kindly said, while that's not his personal opinion, he's prepared to defer to the. So we have, and I agree with the consensus here. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. So the idea is, first question is, are you happy to keep the beach open?
Absolutely.
Second, continue to prohibit dogs on the beach.
Treasure 4 seasons of the year, and being that Worcester County has more resources and has the dogs 50 feet away, I think that's a smart move.
Wonderful. And then obviously then the question of enforcement, we're deferring to our Rye City colleagues because it's a question of enforcement, and I think there will be some eventual issues. But since you guys are running the park, I'll defer to you in terms of enforcement. I do want to remind people on the board and the public, I think Park Supervisor Gioffre last time mentioned that it's a mess cleaning up at the end of the winter when you have a lot of dogs on the beach, and then when you come into the spring, it's awfully difficult. So I would encourage our colleagues in the Rye City Council to try to enforce as much as possible and as much as practical our decision. Great. Okay.
So Scott,
make an official presentation.
Yeah, you would anticipate having the cops do a sweep.
No, Bishop, we're going to figure that out later.
What are these?
No, Bishop,
Keys
no.
to the
Keys to the castle.
And keys to the beach gate.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, isn't it?
We'll figure it out.
I'll throw them up there. You guys can fight over them.
Scott, do you have any questions or concerns based on the scenario as outlined by Bishop?
We'll deal with the dogs issue, which we've been dealing with pretty much off and on, depending upon some of the callers and some of the concerns. So I'm sure it'll come up again. Yeah. We'll address that.
Great.
At some point in time this evening, I think also we've had residents raise issues, and maybe one of our commission members might raise it again this evening about sanitation services at the park. We've done some analysis to see is it somewhat beneficial or less disruptive to some of our neighbors because of the time that the trucks come to get the large containers. It's fairly loud in the morning, and with the air brakes and the truck noises, I think some of the neighbors along Forest Avenue have complained. Is there some other options? We looked at our own contracts to see if we could use our hauling contractor, and when we did the analysis, it didn't look like it was financially viable. One of the questions that I had is, in the off-season, since you're going to the passive portion of the park, what is your collection schedule between November, roughly, and I guess when you probably start back up in April?
As of the next couple of weeks, the village report.
Frank, do me a favor?
Sure.
Tom's
Just trying to get your comments on the video.
Good evening. The next 2 weeks, the village of Portchester will pick up the dumpsters. After that, the dumpsters will be locked, and no one will have access to the dumpsters. When I go down there to do trash pickup, I will either put the trash in Crawford Park's dumpster or go to the village of Portchester and go on their scale and dump them from there. So that way the large truck doesn't have to go down Forest Avenue, make noise. So we're just trying to avoid that.
And where do they start back up, Frank, with the collection?
April 1st. Usually around April 1st, April 15th is when they start the collection.
Okay.
And how often will you said you pick up the trash, how often does that occur?
For the off-season, probably 2 times a week, maybe one time depending on the weather.
Mm-hmm.
and then we usually bring it down to the village of Portchester scale and dump it down there. So that way the truck doesn't have to go down Forest Avenue at 6 o'clock in the morning and, make a nuisance.
Is that new, Frank, or have you always in the off-season done that?
I tried that last year in the later part of the season, and it actually worked out well.
So last year was the first year where the Portchester garbage trucks didn't come once a week to pick up the garbage?
Yeah, because it wasn't really, it was minimal when he came. And
so that's
it was,
progress as far as quality of life goes.
It was a waste for him to come pick up a half a dumpster.
So are we still paying the village of Portchester the same amount of money when they're not coming?
They're paid by load. They're not paid if they don't come.
But it didn't that line didn't change in our budget, so...
You had a storm, you had excess trash related to the storm. It's an activity-based item. It's when they come, there's a scale ticket that's created, and they're paid based on the tonnage that's being delivered.
So I think that's good news that at least during the off-season we don't have the Portchester trucks coming down once a week. I would like to revisit the issue, though, around budget time next year with regard to, because Mayor Feinstein and I very much appreciate the sensitivity that you show all the time, and you even exhibited again tonight with regard to the quality of life impact on the surrounding neighbors. This was in the context of the concerts, but it also manifests itself with regard to these garbage collection, too. So it may be a little bit more expensive to dispose of it in a different way than having Portchester do it, but it might be worthwhile as far as the quality of life benefits. So we don't have to do that tonight, but I think Mr. Pickup is right. It is something that we hear from residents frequently, and maybe come next year when it's time to do the budget, we can discuss that again.
Can we put one more fact on the table, because I'd like to know myself? How often does Portchester come pick up during the beach season? How frequently are they there?
During the beach season, they pick up between 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes 4, depending on what the garbage load is. And then for like the holiday season, like Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, I usually have an extra dumpster down there because sometimes we do anticipate a lot of trash. So he'll do like a double pickup during the holidays.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I guess along the same lines of quality of life, I think I said on a previous agenda or somewhere, there was discussion about maybe screening or moving the area where the dumpsters are located. It seems to be in sort of a prominent area right now in the parking lot, and somewhat, I know there was some discussion, is there some option or opportunity to move it somewhere which might be less prominent? And it's just one of those items for consideration.
I think that's certainly something we should look at and explore over the course of the winter.
Yeah, I mean, it really smells where it is as you come through the park. It's atrocious.
No matter where you put it, it'll smell.
Yeah. Oh.
So we were considering moving it back a little so it wouldn't be in the park side. It would be more in the parking lot. So.
By the manager's office.
Thank you.
Not you.
No.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, I thought you meant his one.
Not quite.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. I think we have a consensus. We don't really need to vote on that, do we? We want to vote on it, or
no?
No. Okay. Good. All right. Great. Management reports.
Was there any more from the public?
Sorry. Did any other comments from the public? Nope. Okay.
Good evening. Basically, I'm going to run over the monthly numbers for the year, which will go very quickly, and I'll give a short report. April to April, 2011-2012, we were in the black, $12,646. May to May, $17,884 in the black. June to June, $33,000. July to July, we're in the red, $79,900. August to August, we're in the black, $52,632, and September to September, we were in the black, $2,404. So year to date, 2012 over 2011, we did $777,392 versus 2011 at $737. That gives us a variance of $39,672. As far as September goes on a monthly report, we had 2 big storms. We lost about 3 trees, one in one storm and 2 in the other. All of these have been cut down, and have they been stumped, Frank?
One has been stump grinded this afternoon. Tomorrow, the other 3 will be taken care of. The one that was done today was storm related from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that out of the way because we're getting ready to plant the tree there. So tomorrow the contractor will be there to finish off the rest of the work.
And so all 3 were cut up and removed by contractor. 2 trees outside the park lost large branches, and they were cleaned up as well. The maintenance workers are gone for the season, or just about.
Last Friday.
Last Friday. So the last remaining maintenance personnel is Frank. The beach and parking facility rental activity, overall permit parking and beach revenue was up about $36,000 over 2011, and September to September revenues were about $4,700 up. I'm just highlighting it. All of you should have the report in your packet.
Yep.
Mark Casada, our captain, winterized all the equipment and securely put all the lifeguard benches away, so we're set on that end. As far as security goes, they'll be finishing up. We've cut back on a daily presence of security during the week. We still have them there evenings, and weekends we have day and night until the end of this month, which is right after Halloween. We generally have them there for Halloween. Park events and development, which Bill handles. The Walk Rye History opening was held September 8th. Arborist Fraser gave a free tree care program at the park on September 29th. We had a meeting with Jeff Stahl, which Bill put together, of the pond-lake connection to review how the season went, and they recommended getting new surface pumping aerators so they won't get clogged. Our aerators seem to get clogged every week, and therefore it contributes to the algae that grows in the pond. So we are now, I think we've already priced them. Now we need to consider whether we're going to buy them for next season. Not tonight, but at some point. Bill Lawyer put together a detailed information about that message center that we discussed that would be in front of the winter office and the bathrooms there. He got the price quotes and the graphic artists. He spoke with park neighbors and the Friends of Right Town Park. The Friends have committed to providing the funding for this project. So, again, the Friends have come through for the park. I believe that's true, right? More or less?
Yes.
More or less.
Keep showing
several neighbors have volunteered to help out if needed. The triathlon went pretty much without a hitch. We had a number of meetings where our staff, 3 or 4 of our staff, Rye City Police staff, Playland County staff all met and went over in detail the whole triathlon, which was a big success, and pretty much went smoothly. We received a $2,500 agreed upon fee. In addition, the committee paid 2 of our security guards, and I believe, I'm not quite sure if they paid a lifeguard or 2.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Okay, I thought they did. Rye Chamber of Commerce would like Rye Town Park to donate a family membership again this year for the Mistletoe Magic event on November 25th. All proceeds help support their scholarship fund. Capital projects. Mark Casada had put together a schematic for our handicap accessible ramp on the middle beach with and including the booth, which is made out of aluminum, and on hot days runs about 120 degrees inside the booth. And even though we have it air conditioned, it's still very, very difficult to work under. So our cashiers really deserve an applause for working under those conditions. So part of the whole plan would be to include that booth and bring it up to par to look like and be similar to the ones we have on South Beach and in the parking lot. So I know that the commission had put aside some revenues for the purpose of putting the ramp in, and I believe that those revenues are still in the budget, and we're probably looking at early next year before the season. That ramp can be a major safety issue. We constantly have people there trying to warn or help people as they go up the ramp, but we've had a couple of accidents, not serious, but we've had a couple of people slip and fall on that ramp. So I think that becomes the priority for next year.
So you would make it longer?
Yeah.
It's flatter.
It would be,
how far more would it go to the beach?
Well,
Yes.
the initial calculation was about another 40 feet
Wow.
Yeah.
from where it ends currently.
Right. Which is pretty steep.
Well, but that's
Currently steep, yeah.
right. But that's a straight-out approach.
Probably go to the end of Seaside
We
Johns.
could perhaps look at some sort of a zigzag
Yeah.
or switchback
Right.
type,
Handrails.
which will be less.
We have handrails.
What we are doing is taking Mark Casada's
Schematic.
vision, if you will, and we're going to have it vetted architecturally so that we are both ADA compliant as well as to try and see what's the right positioning for the booth, what's the right size for the booth, can we in fact fit it all in there, and then put a budget number to it. All right, we'll be bringing that to you in the next couple of months.
I'd prefer if you went down and then to the left rather than cut the middle of the beach 40 feet.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so that becomes the major priority for the commission for beginning of next summer, which we're hoping to have in before we get really open up, before we get busy. And that's about it.
Wonderful. So do we have a guesstimate or estimate of how much it would cost to put this ramp in?
Well, we originally guesstimated about $20,000 for the ramp alone. Now, Bishop guesstimated a possible $30,000 for both.
Well, you can get prefabs. Yeah. You can get prefab
for the booth.
Well, how much of our capital expenditures did we spend this year?
25,000.
Out of the 75 potential.
Right, out of the 70. So there's.
All right, great. So can we get it for next meeting, Fred? Can we get a capital expenditures report? What we spent and the needs you see for next season, incorporating the obviously whatever your priorities are. If the priority is this ramp.
Mm-hmm. Bishop has that information.
Okay, well, if we could just make a presentation for this. Great, thank you.
Okay. And I just want to thank the Commission for all the direction and good advice you gave us. And, of course, our staff deserves recognition for the really hard work they do. A lot of them put in overtime, don't even get paid for it. And of course, the Friends of Rye Town Park and the parking committee and the pond committee and the Rye City Advisory Board. There's a lot of work that goes into this park. So we get a lot of kudos, but a lot of work goes into it.
Well, Fred, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Bill, Terry, Frank, for all the hard work you do at the park. It looks like it was successful. Well, I know it was a successful season in terms of operations. And it looks like it might even be a successful season financially, although I'm not taking any of these numbers. Yeah, exactly right. We'll get there. So anyway, but thank you for the hard work this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's go to the financial.
Yeah, I'll just add, this is the year where everything came together, the policy and the practice and the weather, and the public. It was all very well integrated approach, and I think that's the model going forward.
Continuous improvement, right?
Exactly. Thank you. Great. Okay, now, so I just look at these bottom line numbers. I'm not a financial whiz the way Mayor Feinstein is, but so.
Did you just say Congresswoman Lowe? That's where you were.
I started.
I didn't say.
I got prepared.